and welcome back. And if you're new here, thanks for clicking on the video and having a little look. Today I'm out in the lanes and I've got a little bit of off-road section to do, but this isn't really a pleasurable hike or walk. This is one I'm doing now to regain some of the fitness I've lost over the last few months, and I can feel it. And I want to get the ability back which I had, which is I could actually push 4 miles to the hour and possibly a little bit more, and that was through speed walking. Not the speed walking where you look like you're doing a train motion in shorts and a vest top and really going some, you know, wiggling all the way up the road. This is pushing yourself to the point, you know, you'd be easier going into a jog. But for me, that enabled me to cover a lot of ground if I was out for a lightweight day hike. And I'm just in the process of getting that fitness back. It is very tempting to keep stopping at gateways, and I've got accustomed to that, just looking down through the valleys, the fields, and enjoying the views. And you know, there is nothing wrong in that, but by doing so I lost a lot of my fitness, and obviously with that meant I wasn't covering as much ground as I usually did in the time frames that I would like to do it in. And indeed, in some occasions it meant it threw all my times out, and I would be not just coming home a lot later, it really did kind of eat into your day. Well, the hoodie's already come off and I'm beginning to get a sweat on, but I am covering ground at what used to be a normal pace if I was in the lanes. Obviously, if you come to a hill or you're traversing contours on hills, slopes, and indeed just rough ground or any obstacle, or moving through forest and woods, your times will drop, as in, you know, speed and coverage of ground. But this is where I always used to make the time up. Any section I hit a lane, I could do a good couple miles at a fair rate of knots, and that would claw time back for me, or allow me to have more time to mill about somewhere I want to mill about, like in the woodlands. Now there's a track that hasn't seen any traffic in a long while. There's actually 4, maybe 5 feet of growth in there. You know what I mean? It's pretty rural around these parts. But you can see this field is obviously being worked. And that's a pile of dung. It will be used on this field to actually provide you know, nourishment to the soil to help the grass grow. And indeed, if they have been doing it, you can see how vibrant that grass is, and that is natural fertilizer. But you can see how ominous those clouds are. It's not going to rain, it's just that passing phase of lightness that you get just before, you know, you go into twilight. And yeah, here I am at another gateway. I've just quickly stopped. It's going to take me probably, I'm reckoning, you know, 4 months to 5 months to get my full fitness that I had back. But yes, here we go, hitting the lanes again. And there you can see the sun beginning to wane in the sky. So I'm going to keep moving on. Some fine looking cattle there, and I love the contrast of the green to the clouds. It's absolutely stunning here. Stunning. Now, fitness is very subjective to each individual, and indeed, if you've got an impediment or a medical condition or anything that prohibits you being fully mobile, you know, everything that I'm talking about possibly doesn't fully apply. And in any case, if you're going to start to do any real hard physical exertion or activity that requires you to do so, the advice is always to go and see your doctor before you embark on that endeavour, just to make sure you're in, you know, suitable condition and there's no underlying things that could cause you to have a medical emergency, so we say. So yeah, always see a doctor before you embark on, you know, physical exercise if you haven't done it for a while, or you just need that peace of mind. But in any event, you should get checked out before you do anything physical if you haven't done anything for a long time. So why is it becoming a cause for concern for myself? Well, I've had a very close friend who's had a medical situation arise, and he's a very trim and very active agricultural worker. So there's no shortage of work. He always ate healthily, and he succumbed to a heart condition and needing stents. And that has prompted me to take a look at myself. There was a time, not so long ago, where my actual reports at the profession I was in actually stated for a person my age, I put some of my subordinates and to shame. And that report always kind of filled me with a sense of pride, because that was the one area I really did excel for somebody of my age. Since I no longer do that profession, unfortunately, things have slowed down, dramatically for me on the physical side. When I did leave, I was still running, but I was taking medication to suppress the pain in my ankle and toes. My doctor did actually say to me that wasn't a good idea, and that's where I started to replace running or distance running with hiking and speed hiking, which, still allowed me to get my heart rate up and make me feel good, like I'd have a good sweat, particularly if I was carrying a pack-loaded weight. But, in any case, I've gradually slowed down on that, and as I've just explained, I've become accustomed to, enjoying it more than sweating it. I'm not in danger of being knocked over by speeding vehicles. As you can see, this road sees very little traffic, so it's only really the occasional tractor. There's a very small stream babbling away down there. But I've got a little bit of a hill to do, so that's going to get my heart racing. If you can get outside and conduct a physical activity, or just even get outside by any means, you will also find your mental health and well-being in that regard will improve significantly and also be more robust. Well, I'm just coming up this trackway. It is steep. You might hear me panting. And we've got a small little valley down there with a farm sitting halfway up. You can go across the hills above it. There is a footpath. Bringing you level, you can see I've got a big uphill to do, and there's a real gradient on this. I'm panting. I've just rounded that corner from the slope, and I'm panning around, and we drop down into that little cleft, and we're making our way out now. I'm now making my way into the off-road section and down through a woodland. You can hear me panting. That's because I've just come up another steep track. But you can see how hilly it is around here. And without a reasonable amount of fitness, it can become quite inconvenient to yourself, and indeed painful to the morale and soul if you really are struggling to the point it's, well, not enjoyable. So fitness does play a part in the outdoor environment. And saying that, I'm looking across to Dartmoor in the distance, and boy, I've tested my fitness in the past over there. So I'm now off-road, and the track I'm on is levelled out, and my breathing is beginning to settle. Now, I would have probably done that and not bat an eyelid, you know, a year and a half ago. So, you know, it's doing me good, getting my heart rate up, you know, and making my body work a little bit more. Whoop. But, yeah, and that's what I aim to do. And like I said, I reckon it's going to take me possibly 5 months to get my fitness back. I'm not sure if that's going to heavily involve a weight loss. I'll have to wait and see on that. But in any case, I'm going to try and be a little bit more careful with what I eat. I'm not going to go on a diet as such. I'm just going to try and moderate quantities more than anything, I think. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see on that. Time will tell. And they say the camera doesn't lie. That windmill up on the distance there at Hilltop, I can see that from my bedroom window. And my house would be in that direction over there. You can't see it at this moment because it sits just behind that rise. But I'm possibly 3.5 miles from home, so obviously I've got 3.5 to go back. I'm doing a circular and it does encompass this woodland. You know, it's not a fantastic distance, and I'm not timing myself at the moment, quite simply because I'm not putting myself under any pressure and dishearten myself. What I aim to do is go out every other day for one of these speed walks, speed marches if you will, to try and build up my level of fitness again, and then I'll start timing myself on some regular you know, circuits to see and monitor my improvement. But this isn't a bad place to train, and I certainly enjoy this more than I ever would if I was in a gym. Motivation is key if you're going to try and do something about your fitness. You know, and over a period of time, that's been a little bit of an issue for mine, because, you know, I've just enjoyed going out doing my normal hikes, a bit of wild camping, bushcrafting, surfing, and it's been at, like I keep saying, a slower pace, and that's fine, and that's why I want to reintroduce these faster paced hikes and walks. As I'm going to talk about motivation, I'm going to talk about the fact that we are looking at getting a husky. In fact, we've started the search now. We've completed our month-long Portugal trip in the summer, and this was our intention. Once the issue the world has experienced over the last 2.5 years, you know, is now faded away, and we've been able to travel to see our family, we're going to purchase a dog. We didn't want to purchase it and then disappear for a month and have to leave it A, in kennels, or B, with family members for a month. It just wasn't right. And if we ever do go back to Portugal, it'll be a week or 2 weeks, not a full month, you know. So the time's right. And that will be my companion when I come out doing these fast hikes and walks, and indeed it will accompany me on a good majority of my outdoor activities and expeditions as much as possible, and that is a motivating factor for me. And as I'm approaching 53, I've chosen a dog which will need a lot of exercise, will prompt me to take it for that level of exercise, and indeed be able to keep up with me in the slightly harsher conditions when I'm up on the moors or out in the extreme you know, parts of Cornwall or North Cornwall, when the weather and, you know, the conditions aren't favourable. A husky should be able to provide me that level of companionship and support, and indeed be with me for morale, and hopefully mutually give it, the dog, you know, not just exercise but companionship and a quality of life that I feel it would deserve. It is starting to get dark now. I mean, I left at about 5 o'clock, and you can see it's getting very gloomy in here. I'm in the woodlands, so I'm going to make my way pretty quick through it. I've got this track to go down, and I would like to be getting in my you know, front door before I lose light. I'm actually pushing myself a little bit harder up the hills as well, hence I'm out of breath. But, you know, no pain, no gain. I'm not conducting this with any weight or, you know, sporting clothing. It is simply combats, t-shirt, boots, and a hoodie should it get cold, but my hoodie long since came off. I have to cross this ploughed field. There isn't deep furrows, nothing's planted in it. Obviously if there's crops I'd go all the way around the outside. There isn't a requirement for me to do so, but you still got to be careful you don't twist an ankle in amongst all this. But you can see the light is beginning to go. When I get across the rise, I should get the last glimpses of the sun. Woo! This is actually been a bit of a workout. So, my role within a former profession, I was a traded individual, and that did actually mean that I had to have the necessary qualifications to conduct my role within that organisation. Now in doing so, and my primary objective was doing the green stuff and deploying in that manner as well on active roles. So I got a bit of sweat. So I found myself training far beyond the requirements for my particular role. I did this on my own back, but consequently it meant when PT was called for, or on a Friday, you know, CO's PT, or, you know, any time we was expected to do our yearly or 6 monthly training and qualifications, it was never a problem for me. There is the old adage, you know, that if you train hard, you know, you got nothing to worry about. You know, I breezed it, whereas many of my contemporary, you know, individuals I was working with, you know, PT was called for, or the time of year to be tested. It really was panic stations, and subsequently many did fail. But, you know, for me, I trained well beyond what was required of me. That wasn't always the case. I got crows flying overhead crowing. They're looking to get back to their nests. No, that wasn't always the profession. When I did actually sign up, I was quite old at that particular point. And being a surfer, you know, an out and out surfer, I did enjoy the social side of that as well, which meant, you know, drinking late nights, partying, and subsequently that doesn't do your fitness. So I had just enough fitness when I entered to meet my requirements, and back then you had to meet your requirements to you know, be selected to go on to further training. Now I swore, you know, that I wasn't going to be the person at the back huffing and puffing and just breaking the actual minimum time for my age category and gender. So that spurred me on, and hence the level of training I did conduct, not just within my unit, but you know, on my own back personally. If you have a level of fitness, every outdoor activity will become a lot easier. I can guarantee you that. When I had to deploy into the field on exercise in adverse weather conditions, carrying adverse loads and doing you know, tasks that you know, were not only heavy, laborious, you could be doing it with a degree of hunger, thirst, you know, lack of morale, lack of sleep. You know, a level of fitness will aid you. You know, that's just a proven fact. You know, if you have a lack of physical fitness, those tasks, aforementioned tasks, will be a lot harder. And indeed, my residual amount of fitness that I've got, you know, when I go, you know, out doing things like this, it does aid me, and that's why I want to get it back. You know, people will be possibly sniggering at that and saying, no, it doesn't bother me, you know, throw up a basher in a field, drink 6 cans of lager, you know, eat burgers all night, you know, and just be laughing at what I'm saying. But you could get so much more out of your time, your body, and it will feel a lot better to you with just this minor improvement on your physical ability. So kind of to just make a very quick point, my last deployment, which is a long time ago now incidentally, I was beginning to get a little bit disheartened and disfranchised because I trained so hard for that particular deployment and wanted it. I'd actually, you know, that was my, you know, what I was looking to achieve. And in the process, like I said, I was working hard at my fitness, so there was never going to be an excuse for that. I'd got all my trades under my belt, and indeed I was training with, you know, various units which were going on that deployment, and hopefully we were going to be taken as assets that that unit would use or, you know, need to assist them. That didn't pay off on a lot of those exercises and training events, and my CO at the time could see how despondent I was getting. And to kind of affirm my fitness, he did actually say that he would try to get me on a commando course. Now, that obviously is not the full one which you know, the commandos do. This is a commando course you can do to get the qualification that you've completed their course. It seemed to me at the time a very, you know, poor second best, because obviously I wanted the deployment. But in any case, he was convinced I had the fitness, even with my age, to you know, be volunteered or selected or whatever route he had in mind to get me on it. He himself came from that background, but you know, yet again, I say it again, fitness is key. Beginning to lose light now, and if you're wondering, I never did do a commando course in the end. I did actually deploy and go on that go into that theatre of operation that I'd been training and wanted so hard, so it kind of paid off for me anyway. But you know, before I lose light, I'm just going to say I'm not going to film all these trips out with myself doing these extended fast-paced hikes and walks. Quite simply, you know, this is something I've got to do myself. I will continue bringing you along on my other walks and hikes and outdoor activities, and seeing a little bit of what happens in North Cornwall. But this will probably be the last time you come on with me doing this. And in that vein, I will say I won't be stopping. I won't be filming it. I'm just going to keep bashing it out now. This is my exercise routine now to get my fitness back. So this is in conjunction with me working and doing my crafting. I have let a former job go that I was doing, and that I haven't talked about, but that was a funeral assistant, and I'd been doing that all the way through the troubles that we've all experienced. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and not in a morbid way, but what I mean was it was fascinating, a learning curve, and I enjoyed helping, or being a small part of the help you can to people that are suffering bereavement and loss at a very difficult time. So I did kind of, I suppose enjoyment's the wrong word. What's the word? I felt useful and performing that particular task. And like I said, I was only an assistant, but I really, you know, got, you know, a lot of value personally out of that myself. And like I said, it was an extremely interesting career path, you know, in its own right. So, you know, I do have a little bit more time on my hands now, but ultimately I do still have to earn some money, so I can't just be, you know, concentrating on milling around like this, you know, every minute of the day. And I do have a young family. And on that vein, I'm just going to say, you know, take care. Hope to catch you out on the trail. Stay safe. And if you're, you know, thinking that you need to do something about your fitness, may I suggest that you possibly have a little look in the mirror, you know, and possibly give yourself that little bit of a jolt to go and do it after you've got some medical advice that you're able to do it. So this is Andy. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the trail.